Oh my God. Oh my God, so many goddamn glute exercises to do. Are you confused and overwhelmed with all of the plethora of peach herkin exercises out there that you could possibly do for your glutes? Well, today I'm gonna be breaking down the top 7 best exercises for your booty. But really, I'm actually not gonna be breaking down the top 7 exercises, but rather the top 7 movement patterns, and also giving you 5 examples of the best exercise you can do within those movement patterns. Because if you wanna plump your rock, perk your peach, put your junk in the trunk, you need to be getting strong at all of these lifts. And we're gonna be breaking down the booty science to help you to understand exactly how it all works, so you can start creating your very own list of lifts. Now let's get in. Now, before we break down all these goddamn tasty epic exercises, let's get into a little bit of booty science so you can have some background understanding of what all this really means. But I think I'm gonna need a little bit of help from one of the booty-based babes. Oh, hey, Bulky. How the bloody fucking heck are you? So, we are going to be breaking down the 4 main movement patterns. What are they? They are hip extension, hip abduction, hip external rotation, and posterior pelvic tilt. So let's get a quick look at all these exercises with a little bit more detail. First things first, hip extension. This is where we are going to be stretching the hips all the way back and then bringing them up all the way forward onto a squeeze. Now this is really the main function of the glutes. They get that really big stretch back and they drive us and bring us all the way forward into that contraction. And that's kind of what it looks like with the deadlift, but it's also very similar when we're also doing something like a squat. Whoop, be careful, Bulky. Or doing something like a lunge. Whoop. As you can see, it's still coming back and coming forward on that squeeze to get that stretch and that contraction. Now, those hip extensions mostly work the glute max and the big muscle in our glutes, but we also have hip abduction, and this is where we bring our leg out to the side and back in like this. Now, this targets a little bit more through those upper outer glutes and hits that glute medius with a whole bunch of tasty, unique exercises we're gonna get to later. Next up, we have hip external rotation, and we're getting a little bit twisted with this one. Now, this is where the glutes help to rotate the leg out in the hip socket to come out to the side like this. Now, we don't really do a lot of exercises like this, but it is very important to make sure that we know how to do this so we can activate our glutes by driving our knees out when we go into a squat. So we can make sure we can track our knees, keep our glutes activated, just like we do in hip thrust, deadlifts, and any exercise. We want to activate those external rotation forces. Oh yeah, and last but not least, posterior pelvic tilt, also known as the glute scoop. And this is something that we do at the top of our hip thrust to make sure that we can shorten the glutes even more, protect the back, and get a little bit more jacked. And now today, we're mostly going to be focusing on hip extension, because it's the main function of the glutes and the most powerful explosive movement in the body to get you goddamn jacked. But the reason why there is no one best exercise for the glutes is because different exercises load the muscle and affect the exercise in completely opposite and completely both awesome ways. So let's break it down and actually look at what exercises are going to be targeting the glutes in their different lengthened positions. First, we have exercises that target the glutes in their shortened and contracted position when you're coming through and squeezing your glutes. Now, exercises where it's hardest in this position are things like our hip thrusts, our back extensions, our kickbacks, our glute bridges, etc. But these exercises do a fantastic job at targeting the entire glute, but they also give a little bit of extra love and attention to the upper glutes. So if you want to build that full round shape, then make sure that you are doing these frequently in your programs. And the best part about this is that these exercises also work the glutes in a shortened range and get a lot of glute activation, but require a lot less recovery, so you can also perform them more frequently. And we also have exercises that work the glutes in more of their lengthen position and when they're deep in that stretch or deep in your reps. Now, exercises that work the glutes like this are things like your squats, your deadlifts, your lunges, etc., etc. Now, these exercises target a little bit more of the lower glutes and don't do as much for the upper glutes. They also almost always involve a lot of other muscle groups like the quads, the hamstrings, the back, etc., etc. But these exercises are also a little bit more demanding and quite taxing on your body. So you can definitely do them frequently, but they do require a little bit more recovery. So you need to program them intelligently. Oh, sadly, my upper glutes are burning up. Oh, shit. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, what about those abductions that he mentioned before? Well, I like to think that they are the missing piece of the puzzle for building the upper glute. So what the ladies are calling the shelf these days. Now, we're going to touch on this a little bit more later, but they really help to target that glute medius, and they can help you to build that full round shape that we all know and love. Now, you might be sick of me rambling on with all these facts and booty science and you're thinking, get to the fucking good shit. Show me the goddamn exercises. Well, that's exactly what we're about to do. I'm going to be breaking down the top 7 movement patterns, showing you 5 of my top exercises that you can use to build your list of lifts, and also recommending the ideal rep ranges and how frequently you can perform these exercises in your program every single week. But I think I actually might need a little bit of help from one of the booty-based babes again. Oh, hey, Tory Laws. How the bloody fucking heck are you? Everybody, can we get a good round of applause for Tory Laws? Anyway, the first exercise that we're going to be breaking down is the king of the booty builders, the motherfucking hip thrust. You probably saw this one coming. Now, if you don't know how to hip thrust, well, you're probably fucking first time on this channel, but we're going to be coming up, driving and squeezing hard at the top. This is not going to be a detailed tutorial of how to go through your technique, but I am going to let you know what the hip thrust actually does. So it primarily works the glutes, and they come all the way up, and we squeeze, and they're working hardest up here in this shortened position. We also get a little bit of help from the quads and from the hamstrings as well, but really the glutes are the main attraction. Give me one more rep, Tori. Squeeze. Make sure you squeeze the top of your reps. Make sure you get that tasty little hole, and make sure that you feel that booty goddamn turn to gold. But now, let's take a look at the top 5 variations you can start to add to your list of lifts. Traditional barbell hip thrust that gets strong and jacked in all goddamn rep ranges. Single leg hip thrust for an epic and challenging bodyweight variation. Try doing pause reps and holding for 1, 2, 3 seconds, or doing 1¼ reps up, 1¼ and back up to add time under tension and build that lockout strength. Get a crazy goddamn burn, you know? Try doing knee banded constant tension reps for higher reps to get a goddamn unbearable burn in your glutes. Or try doing knee banded dumbbell glute bridges for higher reps to get a goddamn burn in your glutes. Now, our next movement pattern on this gorgeous lift of glute booty gains is our lunges, or our split squats or step ups, or really any single leg knee dominant lift. Now, lunges are a fantastic exercise, and they target the glutes where? Down here deep on that stretch, so they target a little bit more of those lower glutes. They also work a little bit of the quads into the adductors as well, and also with this technique, you can just lunge back like this, keep your body upright and take a shallow step, and that will work the glutes. But if you take a really big step back and lean forward, you get even more stretch on the glutes, and it's gonna make them a little bit more goddamn beautiful. So, let's take a look at my top 5 variations for this goddamn epic exercise category. Want to get super jacked and look like a badass? Well, try barbell reverse lunges to build some serious strength. Feel like not being able to sit down on the toilet for the next few days? Well, try Bulgarian split squats and get a deep stretch on your glutes that you won't forget. Feel like going for a stroll? Well, give walking lunges a go and take up the whole goddamn gym. Feel like trying a wacky fun new variation? Well, give landmine reverse lunges a crack for a super glute focused lunge. So you can do lunges with split squats? Well, give high step-ups a try for an exercise that gets a super big range of motion and a super tasty stretch on those glutes, quads, and adductors. Squats. Well, wouldn't it be an epic glute building video without including some goddamn squats. Now, squats are obviously epic for the glutes as we come down deep and we get them down deep in our reps on that stretch, but they also require a lot of demand from our quads, from our adductors, from our upper back, from our core strength. So this is really, it's a lower body lift, but it's kind of like a total body lift that really beats the crap out of you. But they are fan-goddamn-tastic at helping you to build your booty. So let's get into the 5 top variations for our squats. Want to build some badass barbell strength in your quads and lower body? Well, get stuck into some barbell squats and squat till you drop. Don't feel like going all the way down? Well, try some low bar box squats to get some tasty tension in your glutes and use a little less range of motion. Alright. Want to improve your squat depth and get extra time on attention down deep in your reps? Well, try some pause squats to get some serious strength in those legs. Are you new to squats, or maybe you're just sick of using a barbell? Well, why don't you give a dumbbell goblet squats a whirl? Don't mind sticking your butt out in the middle of the gym? Well, why don't you try out some reverse hack squats to get a serious stretch on those glutes. Our next movement pattern on the list is gonna be our goddamn deadlifts. Now, similar to squats, deadlifts are fantastic for the glutes, but they also work a lot of the other muscles in our body as well. They really target the hamstrings, the glutes, and also work all through the erectors, or our lower back, and require a lot of stability and strength from our upper back, arms, etc. Again, these bad boys target us on the stretch, so we get a little more lower glutes, and again, they do require a little bit more recovery because they beat us up a little bit more than exercises on the skillies. So let's get into our top 5 deadlift variations you can add to your list of lifts. Want to keep that tasty tension on your glutes and having to put some serious mass on your ass? Well, give Romanian deadlifts a whirl. Want to build some serious strength in those glutes and hammies? Well, start pulling from the floor and do some goddamn conventional deadlifts. Or maybe you want to build your ass but work a little bit less back and a little bit more quads. Well then, we have a little crack at some sumo deadlifts. Why not? Sick of those barbells beating you up? Well, why don't you swap it out for a single leg dumbbell RDL to build some serious single leg strength? Sick of holding onto that barbell and want to build some serious strength in your glutes, hands, and through your back? Well, maybe you should give good mornings a whirl. Now that we've got all those big barbell compound movements out of the way, it's time to move on to some tasty glute exercises that I love as well. And the first one is going to be our back extensions. Now, back extensions, I think, should be classified as one of the big lifts that everybody should be getting strong at. What do they look like? We're setting up on a back extension machine and we're getting our hips off the edge and then pushing ourselves down as we lift our body up, and then coming on up and squeeze in those glutes. Now, with these, the tension's mostly at the top of the rep, but we also do get that nice stretch on the hamstrings. So we're working the hamstrings, the glutes, and also the lower back if we keep our chest up like this. But if you round over, we can focus a little more on just the glutes and the lower back. Just the glutes and hamstrings. Now, I like to kind of think of back extensions as a bit of a hybrid between a deadlift because it kind of looks just like a deadlift. Whoa! But we also get that tasty tension at the top, so it's kind of like a hybrid of a deadlift and a hip thrust combined into one damn jacked exercise. So let's take a look at some variations that I love the most. Want to get strong as hell? Well, do some dumbbell back extensions in lower rep ranges to build some serious strength. Don't feel like going heavy with dumbbells? Well, loop a band around your neck, hold on to this bad boy, and go for high reps to get that extra tension on the glute squeeze to burn that building. Feel that stick in the body weight? We'll try some pause reps. 1, 2, 3. Or try some 1 1/4 all the way up. Down a quarter, back up, squeeze to get some extra tension at the top. Don't feel like hooking up those hamstrings? Well, stay rounded the entire time and turn your toes and hips out to the side and do some glute-focused back extensions instead. Or maybe you only have a GHD bench at your gym. Well, do GHD back extensions, hit a little bit of a different angle and get that tasty squeeze in them glutes and hams. Now, it wouldn't be a booty building video without some goddamn tasty isolation exercises. So it's time that we wrap this video up with our 2 best exercises for the booty that's gonna help you squeeze, shape, and plump the goddamn rubber. The first one is gonna be our kickbacks. Now we can do kickbacks with a lot of different variations. I'm gonna show you how we actually do them. And I'm not gonna go too much into our technique of how we perform them because I have a whole video all about kickbacks and abductions, which you can check out right over here. But with these, we're gonna be really focusing on that squeeze, squeeze, squeeze in a very isolated fashion. These isolate the glutes because they really don't work much else other than the glutes, and we can really, really focus on getting those tasty, conscious contractions with a whole variety of delicious variations for your derriere. So, let's take a look at my top 5. If you want a tasty variation you can keep on getting stronger and stronger at, well, cable kickbacks, they're the option for you. If you have a reverse hyper machine in your gym, well, why don't you try these single leg reverse hypers to get some goddamn tasty tension in that upper booty. Don't have any fancy equipment? Well, do some high rep banded kickbacks at the end of your workout to give those glutey booties a little bit of extra love. Sick of doing standing variations? Well, get on all fours and try out these donkey kickbacks instead. Or maybe your gym's got some fancy equipment. Why don't you try using a kickback machine instead to get some goddamn mass in your ass? Now, if you want your glutes to be a masterpiece, well, then this right here is quite often the missing piece. And it is gonna be our abduction variations, which I mentioned to you earlier on. Now, all the other movements that we've gone through today are mostly hip extension coming back and forth. But abductions are that other movement that the glutes perform, which is lifting our leg out to the side. Now, I like also cueing to do them in an internally rotated position because it helps to hit that glute medius, boom, a lot better than any other way. And again, if you want to go and check the technique, check the video that I linked before about kickbacks and abductions. But if you want to build a goddamn shelf that can fit every single motherfucking book in the goddamn Harry Potter collection, then you need to be doing some goddamn abductions. So, let's take a look at my top 5 variations. Looking to build some serious strength that you can keep on hitting PBs with? Well, cable abductions, they're the one for you, baby. If you've got a reverse hyper at your gym, you'll put a unique twist on it and do some pendulum abductions to plump that beach. Don't have any fancy equipment? Well, do some extra range sideline banded abductions to get that extra stretch and that extra squeeze. Want to try a funky new weird looking exercise? Well, why don't you give some sideline glam raises a go and get them goddamn glutes growing. But why not mix things up and do a seated machine abduction, hit them booty glutes from a little bit of a different angle. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The top 7 movement patterns and 35 exercise variations that you can use to start building those goddamn glutes. And the reason why I showed you so many epic exercise variations is because there is no best exercise for the glutes. It's all about learning and understanding and educating yourself more about the science behind the systems to building glutes so you can pick your own list of exercises that suit you best. Because everybody has a different body, everyone has their own preferences, and everybody will take their own path to perk their peach. So hopefully you're on the path to building that plump ass rump. Now, if you love this video, well, why don't you get down there and give it a little bit of a like, because we're putting a whole goddamn lot of content out here on the YouTube goddamn channel. No, not the YouTube, the goddamn Glute Tube. So, if you enjoyed this so far, then I'm gonna need you to do me a little favor. I'm gonna need you to like, call me, subscribe, turn on that notification bell. And ladies and gentlemen, you know what they say. YouTube! Snap it up, baby!